how to be smooth with women. I have an interesting viewpoint on it, or a definition, might put it that way, on how to explain being smooth with women. And I think if you approach it with this definition, it gains a lot of clarity. Whereas smoothness is kind of just this ethereal idea to a lot of guys, or something you see in a movie where the guy walks up to the girl, he whispers something in her ear, and then all of a sudden it flashes to the next scene and they're undressing each other. Very few movies, or I think none of them, show the full extent of how a seduction works and how it's a lot messier than how they make it seem, for obvious reasons. I mean, runtime. You're not going to put an entire 3-hour date scene in a 5-hour movie, right? But there is a lot more complexity to what we consider being smooth. And so maybe having a simple definition can help ease and clarify that complexity, because there's 2 aspects to being smooth. And I think that we only focus on one or the other when we're giving a definition. One of the aspects is, if you think about smooth as a word, right? A surface is smooth, right? Versus a rough surface. Well, how does that work when you're dealing with behaviors? Well, the way that I see it is that there is a distance that has to be traveled between your thoughts and your feelings, and then how you express yourself, right? So you have thoughts and you have feelings, and then you express it through your words, but also your eye contact, your facial expressions, your body language, your hand gestures, right? Your behaviors. So words and behaviors. When you are being smooth, there isn't a lot of interference between the thoughts and the expressions. It feels like it's just coming out, right? It's just flowing water. Doesn't mean there can't be pauses. It doesn't mean there can't be moments when it's more fast, right? Or times when you have to think about what you're going to say, right? You're not just always going to come out with the right thing. And you're never going to stutter over your words, and you're never going to but there's going to be a lot less of it than with the average person, right? And just because, let's say you're very controlled of how you talk, and you're never going to stutter, and you're still going to stutter in your nonverbals and in your behaviors, right? You might not know what to say next, but then you're going to be like, okay, well, you're not being smooth. You're stuttering, right? There's clearly a disconnect between your feelings and your thoughts and then your behaviors, right? She says something and it throws you off, or she challenges you, or, you see her look at a different guy and you're like, oh, does she know him, or is she interested in him? Or, she doesn't react well to something that you said, or she doesn't laugh at your joke, or she flakes on the date, or she doesn't respond to your text, or, you go to invite her home and she's like, oh, sorry, I have to, get up early in the morning. And you're like, oh, fuck, what do I do now? Right? You start to freeze. You start to stutter. You don't know what to do next. Your smoothness is under threat because it was going like this, and then there's a crack or there's a hill, right? It starts to become rough. And a lot of seductions are rough by nature, right? But we can do our best to make them smooth. And one of those aspects is by making our transition between our thoughts and our emotions much more smoothly by allowing as little interference as possible. The way that's done is with a certain level of courage and conviction, right? You're going to make mistakes. You're going to say something wrong, but at least say it with conviction. Just say it. And then if you make a mistake, adjust later on, right? You don't know what to talk about on a date. Okay, it was going well. We were talking about this. Conversation was flowing, and oh shit, I don't know what to talk about. Start talking about some random ass shit, dude. Literally come up with the fucking anything. The moment you're like, oh, should I talk about that? Yep, talk about it. oh, I've been thinking, I'm thinking I want to get new glasses. I don't know. Like, as you start talking about things, ideas will flow into your mind, right? Like, they're just so fucking scratched. I drop them all the time. Like, do you drop your glasses, or you probably drop your phone a lot? Like, oh my God, look at my phone. I literally just made that up out of nowhere, right? I was like, I don't know what to say, and I want to make an example for these guys. So I looked around my room. Boom. I saw my glasses. Okay. Start talking about the fucking glasses. Yeah, I was so smudgy. I drop them all the time. I'm such a clumsy fuck. What about you? Ha 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 ha. Right? Or my phone. I'm like, oh yeah, look, I have all these fucking. I have to replace my screensaver. Not screensaver. What the fuck is that called? Screen protector. Right? That wasn't unsmooth the way I did it. I just didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. Right? But I rolled with it. What the fuck is that word? I don't know. Right? I'm monologuing and expressing my thoughts. Right? You're not always gonna perfectly say it. But I turned that hill or that dip into a smooth dip or a smooth hill, right? So whether you go up or down or straight, the path can still be smooth. God damn, that was good. Ugh, that was such a beautiful metaphor. Fuck yeah. God, I'd suck my own dick. I should. Fuck. Right? It's just like, oh, that was genius. Okay, sorry. Pat on the back. Right? But I'll say it again, right? It loses a little bit of its luster when you repeat it, but I'm trying to educate you, not just entertain you, right? So whether it's uphill, right, you're meeting some resistance, whether it's straight, everything's going well, or you're going downhill, which I guess as a metaphor could actually be like things are going really well, right? Because you're just like flying, right? So things are just kind of okay. Things are flying, like you're good. Like you don't even have to put your foot on the pedal, right? You just fucking go for it, right? Or you're going uphill. You're meeting some. You got to fight gravity, right? The surface can still be smooth. You can rock with it. You can lean with it, right? That was fucking funny, right? Boat on an ocean. It's going with the waves. However many fucking metaphors and understandings you want to go with this, right? So you'll adapt in the moment. You have courage. You have conviction. What else can I talk about, right? My headset, right? Fucking love this headset. I love wireless headsets. If you haven't gone on a wireless game, I was at the store in Romania and I wanted to buy some nice headphones, and this guy was there selling for Logitech, right? And I was like, okay, well, he's a Logitech rep, so he's going to be obviously gassing up Logitech. He's like, hey man, you should really try these on. And I tried on the white ones. I actually do want a pair of those. They look a lot prettier. But these look better on stream because they're just like simpler, right? Because there was a point where I wanted to stream, and like every other fucking person. And he's like, try them on. And I was like, oh my God, they're so lightweight. And they are. They're so fucking comfortable. I can have them on all day. And they last for like 8 hours, right? I just have to charge them every few days. And the quality is actually pretty decent, right? And I can go in the other room and still hear people. And not having that fucking cord on my left arm, right? Move it out of the way. Oh, it's so liberating, right? You could talk about fucking anything if you want. Just start talking about shit. Practice this skill by just talking about shit. And you'll become more smooth in conversation, right? That's actually, I want to make a conversation product, or maybe just some videos on conversation. It's very complicated because conversation is obviously really complicated. Just practice talking about random shit and you'll get good at it. And then I'll leave a note that says glasses example, dropping them, LOL, and headset example. When I write these things, usually I can remember them because I'll remember like, oh yeah, I was making that video and I made that really cool reference because I'm so fucking cool. And then I'll be like, oh yeah, and then I roll with that. But where the fuck was I? I'm obviously exemplifying what I'm trying to teach you right now, but that's just how I always am, just watching any of my videos, right? I'm just smooth all the fucking time because I'm awesome, right? I am gassing myself up here a little bit, but that's kind of what I have to do, right? I'm an authority figure. I'm teaching you, so I have to be, a paragon of my beliefs and my system. Otherwise, I shouldn't be teaching you. But courage and what was the other one? Conviction, right? Just fucking going with it. Right? That's the way that you start making the transition between your thoughts and your feelings smooth. It could even be with negative things. Like, let's say a girl annoys you or something. Fine. Just be annoyed. Be like, oh, okay. Right? Especially when girls start to, like, be bitches or, like, play games with you. Right? They say something kind of sassy and maybe you don't like it. Right? But then you put on a good face because, oh, I don't want to show them butthurt. I don't want to show them upset. No, show it. Because if you hide your emotions too much, there's going to be tension and friction, right? There's going to be a rocky road because you're going to feel something's off. Like maybe she says something and you're like, haha, yeah, and for whatever reason her comment irked you. No, show it, right? I'm not saying go to the extreme. There's obviously restraint and moderation when it comes to like showing emotions. But like, let's say she fucking annoys you. You'd be like, yeah, I didn't like that. What do you mean? I don't know. That joke kind of seemed mean-spirited. I would appreciate it if you don't do that again. Most guys are not willing to do that. So guess what? Now you're making her hit a hill, right? You're being a challenge. You ever heard like, oh, you need to challenge girls and da-da-da-da-da, and then guys will usually come up with some artificial bullshit to like introduce fake challenges. The best way to challenge a girl is to show her your emotions when she does something shitty or boring, right? Let's say she's just being boring. Be like, all right, so are you gonna like try here? Or are you gonna offer something to talk about? Well, what do you mean? I don't know. You're just not really giving anything. Do you not have anything to talk about? Are you in a bad mood? Challenging her, literally challenging her, right? But guys will come up with all sorts of like, oh, just don't show interest. No, you look like a little bitch, like those girls who are like, I'm gonna act like I'm not interested. It's like, dude, you're not a girl. Quit acting like that. Right? It's not even that effective. Right? The only time you should act like that is when a girl is being a silly fucking goose. Then you react to her like she's being a silly fucking goose. Right? But this like, I'm going to act like, no, only do that when you genuinely don't want to talk to her. And it's going to come off a lot more effective. And then she's going to be like, oh, fuck, I gotta actually chase after him because he's a challenge, right? There's another fucking note. Sometimes I just, like, I'll be teaching you stuff. This is how it happens with coaching. I'll be teaching someone something, and then I understand what I'm talking about, but I say it in a way that I normally haven't said it, and it comes out much more natural because I'm just saying it in the moment rather than sitting there and trying to come up with the best way to explain it. And then it actually comes out a lot better and a lot more smoothly, right? Because there's less of a interference between my thoughts and my feelings and my words when I'm just like spitting out wisdom. Whereas if I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, I need to make this sound really smart, then there's more disconnect because I have this desire to make myself look smart. Whereas when I'm just free-flowing, it's a lot more natural. So challenging girls is much more effective when it's sincere. How do I explain this to myself so I can remember it later? So I don't have to fucking watch this video again. I only like to watch my videos once just to make sure everything's good, and then I'm done. I don't just sit there and watch my videos and fucking jerk off to it, right? I should, but I don't. When it's sincere, don't artificially introduce, challenge, create things for her, create dilemmas for her to work on and get investment. Pretty good. Kind of okay. Anyways, so that's the one definition of smooth, right? That's the smoothness from you, right? Then there's the smoothness for the actual interaction itself. There's the smoothness of, I'll fix this camera a little bit. There you go. There's the smoothness of whether or not right now calls for, okay, so let me preface this. You can boil down a lot of seduction to showing just enough interest, right? Which then is calibrated by not showing too much and not showing too little interest, right? Obviously, how you do it and the flavor in which you do it is very important, right? But you can really break it down to show interest, show more interest. Oh, she's not reciprocating now. I need to back it off and meet her interest. And then, okay, try to push it, and then she meets me. And push it, and she meets me. Or no, she won't meet me here. Okay, I'm doing something wrong. There's a connection problem here. There's an attraction problem here. There's a trust issue here, right? I have to kind of navigate it, and that requires staying here until I figure out what it is, which is going to involve conversation and probing and observing and seeing what's going on, right? And watching her and seeing, like, what's going through her mind. Like, trying to figure out, why she's stiff, why we can't go to that next level of intimacy and openness in the conversation, right? Or in the seduction. You can boil down seduction to that idea of showing too much interest, or showing too little, and then calibrating somewhere in between. But then obviously the only way to test that is to push it a little bit, right? Smoothness this is another way that it's represented in movies for the most part. That either it's the guy who always knows, who always kind of on his game. He's always got quips. And then the other way is like he always he knows what to say in the situation. He has the best response. He has a clever response, a witty response. He's charismatic. He can handle any challenge a woman throws his way, right? It is true, right? Being charismatic or being smooth is part of that, right? All right, it partly is that, but it's both things at once, because you can have the right thing to say, but if it doesn't come out smooth, it's not smooth. You can also have things come out smooth and with conviction, right? And courage, and you just say whatever the fuck you want, but eventually you're going to say the wrong thing, and it's going to create a disconnect and not be the right response. You can confidently be fucking retarded. It's very common. I'm not sure if you've been paying attention to the world or yourself. You are probably very confidently retarded in a lot of aspects of your life, okay? People like to talk shit about the world. Yeah, everyone on social media, everyone in the world is so dumb. You're probably just as dumb or more dumb. Sorry. Bit of a truth bomb there. But in the situation, there's always the right move to make and the wrong move to make. Well, Hector, what's the right move to make and the wrong move to make in every fucking context with every fucking girl ever? Please give me that equation. Fuck you, dude. No, I can't do that. I mean, Jesus Christ. I would charge $1 billion for that equation. This is how to figure out in every situation exactly what you should say. Impossible, right? That's literally what I teach in the rest of my videos. It's just attempting to add a small drop into that infinite fucking geyser of possibilities that you can get into with women, okay? I teach you overarching principles that will kind of guide you, right? And I can teach you that idea of like the spectrum of showing too much interest and too little interest and trying to calibrate somewhere in between, right? There's a time to be sexual and there's a time not to be sexual. There's a time to be bold and there's a time to be more reserved. There's a time to be stoic and there's a time to be expressive. These are all ways of expressing interest, too much or too little or somewhere in the middle, right? And you have to know when is the right moment to do it. In this case, if you're too sexual, she's going to think you're creepy. But in this case, when you're not sexual enough, she's going to think you're a pussy. Right? And she wants a man who's going to whip out his dick metaphorically and sometimes literally. But there's times to be that guy. And then there's times to, be quiet and relaxed and listen. Right? There's times in conversation to be expressive and storytell, and there's a time where it's too much, and now you're dominating the conversation, and she thinks you're a narcissistic asshole, or she wants to be heard because women fucking love to talk, right? And they want to be listened to. There's all of these little skills that are involved in seduction, right? But knowing when to do them. Basically, Hector, what you're saying is that I always have to know what to say at every time to be smooth, and also never have any interference or stuttering or inhibitions when it comes to expressing myself. Well, yeah, if the question is how do I be smooth all the fucking time, then the answer is to always know what to fucking do and do it with conviction and courage. Yeah, that's the fucking answer to how do I be smooth all the time, right? But outside of that extreme, impossibility, by understanding that smoothness comes from the context, like the right move to make, but also doing it with some conviction, because there can be times when you have the right answers to something, but you don't do it with enough balls. You don't say it with your chest, right? You can't really control this side all the time. You can't control the know what to do every single time, but you can control the saying it with my chest all the fucking time. Or as much more, right? You can just balls out, just confidently be retarded and go full retard in almost every aspect of your life. And then when you are met with the truth of your retardation and you are met with a rejection or some disinterest or whatever it is that you meet with, or someone being like, no, that's not right, then you can self-reflect and go, okay, where did I go wrong here, right? Where in my calculation did I go wrong? I wasn't reading the context right. Maybe she was more interested than I thought, and I should have pushed harder. Or maybe she wasn't as interested as I thought, and I, pushed too much, and I showed too much interest. Okay, where was I misreading it? Was it in her body language? Did she outright tell me? Like, for instance, I had this client, and we went over one of his dates. I should do a video where I do, like, a date review. And, he was wondering where it went wrong, right? And we were talking about this is the lesson with the story is that sometimes it's right in front of you, you're just not looking at the right side of it. And we had discussed how he needs to be a more sexual guy because he's kind of like boring, right? And he gets friend zoned. And I was like, dude, you got to embrace some of that, aggressive masculine sexual energy, right? And I went into a long diatribe about that and, how, it's a bit of a dark side of people is their sexual sides, right? And that you need to embrace it and express it when the time comes. And then we were going over his date with this girl and he had some spark notes, right? And right on the bottom of the first page, starting the second page, there was something that he recalled that she had said. And I was like, dude, there's something on this page that is so obviously glaring into what we've already talked about today. What is it? And he was like, oh, well, was it because of this or because of this? Like totally innocuous, dumb things that might have made a 1% difference, right? I was like, no, dude, it's this line right here. Apparently, while they were talking, she had studied psychology in college, and she said, I'm very interested in the dark sides of people. And I was like, dude, like, she's clearly interested in, guys who have some edge. Like, have you ever read romance? And what I told him is you need to read some romance novels. Read what women are fucking into, right? And if you can start to integrate some of their personalities into yourself, you'll be more attractive to women because they are fingering themselves and getting wet to these men who are fictional. And the men in their life are nothing like them. But you could be if you wished. And then there was another part in the date where I was like, oh my God, I'm so right. Later on, she was talking about how she always finds serial killers interesting. And then she made a joke about him being a serial killer. And he didn't really go with it. And I was like, dude, like she made a joke where she's like, yeah, you might be a serial killer or something. I could tell like how she might have said it from like her personality. And then he doesn't really have a good sense of humor yet. So he didn't really run with the joke. And then at some point she's like, yeah, maybe I can tell my kids, one day I had a date with a serial killer. Right. But she's telling you that's actually what she's kind of into. Right? Not saying you have to like go fucking stab someone. Hector said to have conviction and courage, so I need to go be a serial killer, right? No, it's like you could just play with the joke a little bit, right? You're like, yeah, maybe I am. Like, ooh, am I scaring you? Like, I don't know. Fucking do something with it, right? It literally could just be like, maybe I am, right? That's it. That might be the extent of like going along with the joke, but it might be enough to make her go, ooh, that was kind of saucy, right? Kind of spicy. But then when she said, like, oh, I can tell my kids I met a serial killer one time, he said, yeah, you can tell them that's how I met Dad, or that's how I met your father. And then she said something along the lines of, oh, okay, well, that's a bit too fast, which is kind of silly. You were just, like, jokingly calling me a serial killer, but then I joke about being the father of your children. Oh, that's too fast. And it's like, what? They aren't even in the same universe of, like, edginess, right? But in the context, it was the wrong move to make. Because why is he going from like, oh, I'm this spicy serial killer guy that she wants to like get fucked by while he holds a fucking knife to her throat or some fucking kinky ass shit, right? And then he turns it into like, oh, I can be the father of your children, which in some way like implies like, yeah, I busted a nut inside of you, but I'm Dad is not really sexy in and of itself. Is like, I'm gonna bust a nut in you and like knock you up, bitch. Like, okay, that could be kind of like hot and aggressive, right? But you got to do it right. I'm gonna dump a little cum in you, you little fucking whore. I'm gonna breed you. Yeah, you can get a little spicy with that, right? But that's not the way he was doing it. Okay, he should have just, he could have been like, she says, oh, I tell my kids that I met a serial killer, and be like, yeah, it'd be a good story. Like, literally just like, that's all you have to say, right? I didn't even think of anything clever right there because I don't have anything off the top of my dome right now, right? Just be like, yeah, be a good story, right? What are you going to tell him? What kind of serial killer was I? Okay, tell me the story, right? And involve her in it, right? Or if you're really creative, just come off the top of your head. Be like, yeah, but I let you survive because you were cute, right? Or some shit, right? Go with it. Have fun with it. I don't know. Come up with something and just fucking say it, right? And the clue was in the fact that she told you I'm fucking interested in serial killers, and then she paints you as what she's interested in. That's kind of a dark fantasy. It's a very seductive thing. But then he thinks like, well, I'm the father of your children. It's like, oh, you missed the mark, brother. That's not at all what you're going for, right? So a lot of times the right thing to do is in the context, right? And that's a skill you learn by failing and then looking back on your spark notes, or, you know, I advise you write your dates down and like go through it, be like, where did I go wrong? But it was right there. He wrote it down. So he realized it was an interesting enough comment that she made to write it down, but he didn't realize how important it was in the grand scheme of the seduction, because he doesn't realize that his problem is he doesn't create lust in women. Like a little bit, enough to go on a date with him, so he's progressing, right? But not enough to really be that dude, that guy who really makes her feel special, right? Or sorry, that's more romantic. Makes her feel fucking like a little rampaging slut who's going to get fucked really hard, right? That's how girls need to feel around you. Right? But the only way you're going to learn how to be that way and be smooth about it is by attempting to be that guy, right? And making mistakes, right? So making a sexual joke and she gets uncomfortable and you're like, okay, well, that wasn't the right context, or maybe I did it too much, or I didn't do it the right way, or do it with the right words. Well, for instance, when it comes to like sexual jokes or sexual advances, like the more confidently you do it, the more successful it tends to be. That's not licensed to just do whatever you want, obviously, right? You make a move and you see she's not reacting well, you back off. Very simple, right? But you're entitled to go for it, right? As long as it's not something fucking egregious, like just randomly reaching out and grabbing her by the pussy or anything like that, right? But eventually at some point you do make that move, right? She's on your couch and you're making out with her, right? And you guys are feeling each other up. Okay, well, at some point you got to go for the pussy, right? If she doesn't want it, she's going to stop you. I fucking promise you. She's going to grab your hand and move it out of the way or block it. She's going to go, wow, Mr. Miyagi, wax off. Right? Okay. That's cool. Then, you know, we'll have a discussion about it. Be like, oh, are you not comfortable? Da-da-da-da-da. That's smooth. Talking to girls about their boundaries and what they're comfortable with or what they're not comfortable with. I love to do that. I love to like very openly and transparently talk about things with girls, right? Which is very smooth because it comes to my mind. I'm just like, oh, well, why doesn't she want me to finger her? Or why doesn't she want to suck my dick? Well, how about I ask her? Like, that's how I came up with my seductive style. It's like, what's the most direct way to have sex with a girl? Well, maybe just like tell her I want to fuck her, or ask her why she doesn't want to fuck me, and then have a discussion about it. And then I actually turned that into a seduction style because it made me sexy because I'm just comfortable talking about sexuality. It made me sexy because I am courageous to do something that not a lot of men are willing to do, right? So the comfort makes her feel comfortable with her sexuality. The courage attracts her because, wow, this guy has balls, right? And then it also makes her feel like she can trust me because I'm being so open about sex and I'm not hiding it, but I'm also discussing it with her so she knows I'm never going to hurt her, right? Because the guy who's going to hurt her is not going to talk about it. He's just going to do it, right? So there's all these things that become interesting about me, right? And I'm good at communication. And I'm interesting and I'm different. It's like, oh, that's weird. Not a lot of guys are like that. Right? I've never met anyone who communicates to women the way that I do. And I made it smooth because I just practiced, okay, just express yourself. Tell her you want to fuck her. Tell her that she looks sexy. Like, I would just say the most ridiculous things. Just like eventually shamelessly do it. And even women who weren't interested in me, they'd be like women, I would say something, a girl would be like, damn, you look so fucking good. I would love to fuck you. And they would just look at me like, I don't even know how to respond to that. Like, they'd be like, I can't believe you just said that. And I'd be like, yeah, no offense. Just, yeah. They're like, I mean, kudos to you for just like fucking letting it loose. I'm not really into it, but like, hey, good for you. Like, very rarely once I got comfortable with it would they respond badly, even if they weren't interested, right? Now, is this saying that you should go out and be like that? Well, I mean, be prepared, right? Not everyone is willing to do things like I would and say things and speak the truth so openly, right? And you might have to deal with consequences worse than mine, right? Some girl would be like, oh my God, what the fuck? I can't believe you said that to me. Yeah, I did. So fucking what? It's not illegal, right? I can say what the fuck I want. But of course, if you make that statement and then she's not interested anymore, okay, we'll be like, oh, cool, whatever. Walk away. You didn't do anything wrong, right? But if you stay there and continue to do it, okay, now you're harassing a woman, right? And it's like, you know, use some observation skills, right? But hey, if some guy is going to like do something dumb, he's going to do it with or without my information, right? I'm actually teaching you how to be smooth about it, right? How to be charismatic about it. And a lot of it is how courageously and calmly is another way to be smooth. Just be calm. Courage and calm. What was the other one that I fucking said? It was another C. Courage and conviction? Yeah, courage and conviction. Right, conviction is I said what I said. Courage is kind of an attitude, like I'm just like fearless, right? But you're not fearless. Courage is only possible in the face of fear, but whatever. Courageously, with conviction. I said what I said. You got a fat ass, right? Conviction and courage, but then also calm. You got a fat ass. That's smooth, baby. Smooth. Smooth equals, let's do some math equations here. Smooth equals calm, conviction, courage. Nice. And then, but also smooth is that plus the right move. But there are many right moves. There's no one right move, but there are wrong moves. But sometimes the wrong move done with calm, conviction, and courage is the right move, which means it was the right move. The right move is feeling her openness to your next move, which should be either less interest than it currently is or more interest than it currently is. Because at some point you have to escalate the seduction. But like I said, there's a creative infinity of things to do in a seduction. You can talk about fucking anything you want. You can be a totally different person tomorrow if you want. And the only way to find out if it works or not is to experiment with it. And as long as you're guided by ethics, right, and you're not being a piece of shit, right, you're not lying or deceiving women, and then, of course, you're respecting boundaries, you can't really go wrong. So be guided by your ethics, and then be guided by smoothness, which is calm, conviction, and courage, and then finding what the right move to do is. And if you make that balance between how you're expressing yourself and then where her bridge is, which is going to be the right angle, I got to go this way, it's smooth. Whether it's up, straight, or down, it can be smooth. The path can be smooth. There you go. How do I end this video smoothly? If you're interested in coaching, marketing pitch, there is a link just below this video. It's probably blue. Are links on YouTube blue? I think they are. It's in the description. It'll say something like coaching consultation. You click it. You'll go to a page. You put your information. It sends an email to me. I get the email. I respond with a different email. We set up a time to talk. We talk on the phone. We have a little back and forth. I tell you how the coaching works. You tell me what you're looking for. I tell you generally how I'm going to fix it without giving it away because you got to pay for it. You pay me money. I coach you. You get success. Boom. If you're not interested in that more in-depth kind of thing and you want something a little bit more simple, I have a course called Meet Girls Everywhere. It teaches you how to approach girls fucking everywhere. It's called Meet Girls Everywhere for a reason. And it gives you insights into that process from her being a stranger into her saying yes to a date. And then I also have a texting book, which creates the bridge to like making the date happen. And then Chase has a course called One Date, which is how to go on a date and then close it with her. Right? The whole fucking thing. Shebang. But I'll give you 2/3 of the process. Right? And it'll get you a lot of the way there. So Meet Girls Everywhere is day game course. It's in the description below. And then my texting book is also in the description below. Grab both. They're great. And yeah, that'll get you started. And then if you're interested in accelerated learning or very tailored, personalized coaching one-on-one with me, like I said, consultation in the description below. Anyways, I have talked long enough. I have probably overstayed my welcome. I wish you guys all the best. Hector Castillo, girlstakes.com. I love you guys. Ciao.